Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. Today I'm delighted to say that this reading is connected to a collaboration with the wonderful Gian from Scarlet Serpent Readings. So I love Gian's channel. He does brilliant spiritual and sort of more general life-related readings with a great deal of depth and sensitivity. Uses amazing decks, always very interesting the way that he reads, very, very intuitively strong. And he probably has one of the most beautiful speaking voices I've ever heard. So it's a pleasure to the ears as well as to the soul to go to his reading. So I highly recommend him anyway. But Gian reached out to me a while ago and we connected, and he's a lovely person as well. And we decided it would be wonderful to do a collaboration together and look at the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And he's taken the divine masculine and me the divine feminine. And for reasons I won't go into now, it really has nothing to do with our gender, so it's not as potentially cliched as that. But what we wanted to look at was how to empower those energies, because we all, regardless of our gender or how we identify, we have both the divine feminine and the divine masculine within us. So we wanted to look at empowering those. And by virtue of watching a reading from my set in this video and a reading from Gian's in his, you hopefully get those energies in balance as well, because that's important that we understand both those energies. And at different times we may call upon the power of one or the other for certain circumstances to help us out or to give us enlightenment. So that's the idea of the reading. If you have come to this because you saw Divine Feminine and you're thinking this is a twin flame reading, it's not. However, it is possible that that kind of energy could come up. That could be part of the messaging from the Divine Feminine at the moment for you. So that may well be an issue, particularly around love. But I just wanted to be sure. I didn't want the title to be at all clickbaity or anything like that in that relationship. We're very expressly talking about empowering that energy rather than it being about that kind of twin flame scenario, unless it comes up or something resonates along those lines for you because of what's in your life. So my reading is going to be looking at the divine feminine. As I said, Gian will look at the divine masculine. So I'm going to be looking first at a bit of an idea about some of the energies and powers of your divine feminine at the moment, and we'll use tarot to have a look at those strengths, what aspects of the divine feminine you may be unconscious of or suppress, and also how the external world might be impacting you, or the 3D world might be impacting your divine feminine power. And then we're just going to have a look at some other sort of spiritual aspects around it and how to heighten that sort of energy and understand where you're at the moment. So that's what the reading's going to be about. I hope you enjoy it. I also hope that you go to Gian's reading. The link for that reading will be in the description box below, so you'll be easily able to get to it. And if you come to this reading from Gian's reading, then welcome to the channel. If you haven't been here before, welcome to the reading. I really would recommend that you look at both, because I do think it's important to get it in balance, and I'm sure you're going to just love Gian's readings as much as I do. But getting to these readings in this particular video, I'm just going to put out numbers for those that like to choose by numbers. So what I did to start with this, as I say, we're going to start with a bit of a profile about what are the kind of nature of your divine feminine empowerment, your energy and your power at the moment, where that might be manifesting. And I'm using a few cards, including cards from the Siren and Goddesses deck, to get an overarching energy as a starting point for that. So I asked Spirit, when I shuffled that deck, to give me three sirens or goddesses to look at as a example of your energy for each of the piles. So that may help with the choice or the numbers, or pause the video and select, and by all means go to more than one reading if you would like. Do whatever you're drawn to. But if the choices here, because they will be part of the reading, are part of your choice, let you know which one you really resonate to right from the outset. Pile number 1 has Morgan Le Fay. Pile number 2 has Aphrodite. And pile number 3 has Yemaya. I may not be pronouncing that one correctly. Hopefully it's close. So pause the video if you need to, do whatever you need to do to work out what reading or readings you want to go to when you know. The timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome part one to your reading. So as I said, to sort of start off, I wanted to get a sense of what your particular divine feminine energy may be at the moment and how it may be empowered by getting a sense of how it operates, what a natural sort of flow of it is for you. This is a really interesting set of cards, I have to say. I think you're a very interesting group of people because we have Athena, along with Morgan Le Fay, which I'll get to. We have Athena, which is a goddess of intellect, war, strategy. In this particular deck, she has the Medusa on her t-shirt, which is that sort of sense of strength, power, and being able to deal with that which isn't just, and so forth. She has the owl of wisdom as a tattoo on her arm. So it's very wise, but very strong. She's able to win in any battle of wits. She is also strong in battle in general. She is the goddess that sprung fully formed from Zeus's forehead. So she came into being as a very powerful intellect and powerful warrior and powerful force, but she is also very wise. So her energy is well balanced. So your divine feminine energy here is very powerful intellectually, very wise, very strategic, but you hold yourself in regulation to know what you need to do and when you need to use that fierceness and intellect and ability, and when compassion and other things are more to the point. So there is a sense of great deal of individuality and autonomy and wanting to be free, independence in this energy. So there is something in your mind and your capacity to think through problems and deal with issues, which is a big part of the empowerment of your divine feminine. And it's interesting because in very classic senses, people often think that's more masculine, but it's a very good sign to show, it's a very good way of showing that it is gender neutral. Intelligence is gender neutral. So you very much have that. Then you have Morgan Le Fay, very interesting and ambivalent figure in the Arthurian legends because she has been portrayed as a fairly benign but sort of motivational force in the Arthurian legends to go through the whole story of Lancelot and Guinevere and Arthur and so forth. But she's also been demonized quite often as being very much the antagonist, very much bringing down Arthur and so forth, using her magic, her sorcery, her connection to Merlin, all of those sort of things. They're very, very powerful spiritually, but a little bit ambivalent, a little bit ambiguous in terms of how that energy could operate. But one of the interesting things about her is for all that she is seen, as I say, in varying levels as being the antagonist to Arthur, so an antagonist to power in one form or another, and Athena she was able to win a battle with Zeus. So there's something in you about being able to stand up to power, tell truth to power. She was also one of the women who took Arthur to Avalon after the battles with Mordred to be healed, and then we have the healer. So I think that there is something about your divine feminine where you can go to battle when it is necessary. You can deal with power, and you can deal, I think, with illegitimate power, because Arthur wasn't necessarily illegitimate power, but as I say, there's a sort of a moral flexibility around what Morgan Le Fay did and using her magic and her spiritual ability. But it was also towards healing. This is the wisdom of Athena, the magic and the capacity to deal with the shadow, if necessary, of Morgan Le Fay, and the healing energy. So I feel that your divine feminine is on this earth to somehow almost mediate in situations of power, use spirituality, use wisdom, use intellectual ability, whatever it is. This is almost academic, and this is magical, and then this is sort of material. So there's a sort of like the swords energy, kind of a combination maybe of swords and cups here, and then there is pentacle energy as well. Maybe there's a little bit of wands energy there as well too, for the sort of like seductive nature and the sort of fiery energy of Morgan Le Fay. So I feel like your divine feminine balances all of them, and it is empowered by a combination of your wise decision making about how to deal with issues, whatever they may be and at whatever level, and heal those energies. Like to be able to take, a relationship through a dynamic to assess, what might be undercurrents around power and to heal it, or to look at a workplace and do that, whatever it might be. Very, very spiritually strong, but also very, very smart and very, very grounded. And ultimately your energy, your power is in healing. So very, very interesting, particularly given the nature of Morgan's, as I say, somewhat ambiguous storyline, because she was brilliant and she was also a healer, but she was also sometimes misunderstood. So I feel that your particular divine feminine may sometimes be misunderstood. And it will be very interesting to see whether it's sometimes confused with your divine masculine as well because of the nature of this. So it will be interesting. I would very much encourage you to get over and see Gian's reading as well, because it may actually show the areas in which there could be almost a confusion. Like you might almost come across as a bit, not androgynous, but like people may find it hard to categorize you. And just as it was hard to categorize Morgan Le Fay. So very, very interesting energy. So let's ask Tarot for a little bit more detail. So let's first of all ask a little bit more about what your divine feminine strengths are. So I do think, looking at this, that you are very spiritual and you're very, very skilled, very magical, but I don't think you show it all that often. I think Morgan Le Fay, that energy is a little bit hidden. You see a little bit more of Athena and a little bit more of the healer. It's almost like the Morgan Le Fay, the magic comes in when you cannot find other ways of dealing with the situation, and then it's powerful, but it's like you start with the heart and the healing, and then you move to the Morgan Le Fay magic and even to the Athena thing secondly. But it's like those sort of energies, the kind of fiery energies and the spiritual energies are a little bit suppressed, in how you show your divine feminine power. A lot of it's around cups, a lot of it's around healing energy, a lot of it's around the heart in some way. So you definitely can see where there is a spiritual impasse and where action is somehow sort of halted, or where spiritual development is halted. So if you are in a sort of situation where power is involved, as I said, or magical power, or following a spiritual quest, all of those sort of things connect to Morgan Le Fay and the Arthurian legends. You see when that is being suppressed, and you are careful. You don't show too much of your hand until it's necessary, but you have a very strong idea about what would be the best emotional outcome for a situation with the Princess of Elixirs. So that's like the Page of Cups. There is a kind of, that almost feels to me, to be honest, the Page of Cups always makes me think of the knight in the Arthurian legends who found the Holy Grail, which I think was Galahad, but I never remember when I'm thinking about it in the context of readings. But there is this sort of sense it was a younger knight from memory, not necessarily the ones that one might have expected, but their innocence brought them there. Now, that you aren't innocent in the sense that your divine feminine is very wise and has a lot of power, but I think your pure heart, I think that's what's showing here. And so sometimes maybe your power is in not showing too much to people of the amazing mind and the sort of spiritual power, the magic, but of showing the heart, and then getting people out of emotional patterns, some very ancient, some very connected to childhood or even like generational stuff or whatever. This is like with both the Eight of Cups reversed and the Six of Cups reversed. When we're talking about what your divine feminine power is, I think this is what you work with. This is what you alchemize. And I think you do it for others, because your sort of innocence in that sort of spiritual sense, in that heart sense, is able to gently heal and excavate those sort of energies around other people. And I think sometimes it shifts powerful positions. I'm getting a sense of, there's that story of Androcles and the lion, where Androcles, I think that's how you pronounce the name, where he found a lion that had a thorn in its paw, and he gently took it out so that he could relieve the pain of the lion, which is what this sort of feels like dealing with great power in some way, or things that other people would feel scared to do. You can go in there, you can deal with it. And then sometime later, when he was in the gladiatorial sort of arena and that lion came out, it protected him. And I always find that a very moving story. The sort of concept of kindness at one point is returned later on. But the point also about it was that, most people would be scared of a lion, too scared to actually help the lion. So I feel that there's something in you and your divine feminine. It's so powerful, it's so smart that you could do this for princes, for kings, for politicians, for people who we find intimidating, that there's that sort of energy around you. And depending upon where you want to take it, there's a really strong energy of healing where almost all hope had been lost. You can bring that through, and then you're like Morgan Le Fay taking Arthur to Avalon to heal. There's something in that, but it's like all that energy is there, but it's a little bit hidden. You wouldn't necessarily show it. You live it through your actions more and through the openness of your heart. It's quite moving. I'm feeling quite teary as I talk about this. So let's see what you don't know. What is unconscious maybe, or a little bit suppressed in your divine feminine nature, pile one. So you don't want to push yourself forward. This is why this great power and great wisdom that you have is a little bit hidden, a little bit muted. You're very focused on the emotional healing. What you maybe don't fully see is how much you're creating a foundation materially as well, like the flow-on effect of health. Like it literally is like you could sit down, maybe you were a therapist or something, and you could sit down and you could get people to excavate very emotional stuff that's had a big impact on how they've dealt with morality in their own heart and their own actions in life, and heal that. And so build a foundation. I don't think you necessarily see this part of the healer. It's more emotional, but you really do that. And so as a result, you may not be fully understanding. You might be suppressing with the Seven of Pentacles here reversed, how you could either make a business out of this, how you could make a profession out of it, or even how you could grow something for yourself. There is something very innocent and selfless about this. It's about the cause in some way. So, and I think you may, as a result, suppress your own manifestation ability a bit. So you're kind of more about the battle and the ideas and the healing than about, a material outcome. But you definitely could do something with this, because this is not a common skill. Your divine feminine is very on point for something that definitely could have a material outcome. But you don't want to push yourself forward. With the Prince of Elixirs, so that's the Knight of Cups, and the Prince of Candles, which is the Knight of Wands, both reversed, you have a tendency to prefer to be a little bit in the background. So, and that may suppress some of what you could achieve here, because you could be really well known. But the hard thing here, I have to say, pole one, is that I do have this sense that to some degree that's wise. I think you are underestimating what you could do in terms of material outcomes, business or something with this, or how you could use it in your career or something like that. But I also feel that what you're kind of suppressing is almost instinctively wise because of the wisdom of Athena, because you're very powerful. Like, you don't really need to empower your divine feminine. It's pretty powerful. It's more that being really aware of how else you could use it would be good. But I feel like the other thing that you might suppress to some degree is your own love and passion. You might spend so much sort of time kind of with Athena's sort of sense of main, really, really independence and really autonomy and all that kind of thing. There is a possibility that you do that as well too. So your own manifestation and your own sort of love and passion could maybe be suppressed. So that could be something to think about. Are you spending more time healing others and healing situations and dealing with power, but feeling almost a kind of, not distaste for it, but like that you have to hide yourself a bit? That's a possibility as well. But you have to choose who you show this to, because it's very powerful and it's not common, and it could intimidate some people. So let's ask how the external world responds to your divine feminine. Okay, so I got really strongly when I put this down, because this feels like divine masculine stuff operating. it feels like divine masculine people are a little bit intimidated by you. For all that you actually do sort of suppress quite a bit of this, they sense that side of you. And it may sometimes mean that sort of, as I say, love and passion isn't coming into your life because it's more about the cause than that. So there's sort of almost a sense of hesitancy, but also they're very drawn to you and they can see you as someone who can revive their energy and so forth, and as someone who brings in fortune for them. So I could see many of you using this divine feminine energy to advise, as I said, kings, politicians, the powers of the world. There is something in you, to be honest. And it felt like looking at an advisor to a king in a medieval court when I put this down. This is what it feels like. It feels like people know that you're wise. People know you have a sense of what is coming. But they may also be just a little bit hesitant. How do I approach this energy? So I think it's just, and it's going to be really important for you, I think, to know the divine masculine side of this. And we'll touch very briefly on it at the end. There is actually a card that was also under this, which is about what the divine masculine energy might be like for you. But it will be really important, I think, to go and see what Gian has to say as well too, because I think the degree of power in your divine feminine draws powerful people to you, or could if you wanted to put yourself a little bit more out in the world. And you definitely can help with their fortunes. You're definitely magical, but you have to be aware that's going to have a kind of almost equivocal response from powerful people who are a little bit concerned by how much power you might have in comparison to them. So very, very interesting. So this leads nicely into the next part of this, where I wanted to get a couple of cards from the Deep, Dark and Dangerous deck to see whether there's sort of any sort of shadowy or sort of like deeper sort of mythological energies around your divine feminine, because I do think that you, particularly with, as I say, the sort of way that Morgan Le Fay's story is told, I think that there is a lot of power within you anyway. So let's just see what we get there for you. Oh my goodness, the Morrigan. Yeah, you are powerful, that's for sure. And Dragon. It's interesting, when I used this deck, these both came up for readings before, so you may have seen a reading I did recently using this deck. So very, very powerful. So the Morrigan is, sort of about news and understanding, very similar energy in a way. This is almost like the marriage of Athena and Morgan Le Fay. There's a very strong energy with you. And I felt very strongly when I read before with this, and when I see this imagery with the sword, like that's very Arthurian as well, Excalibur, that there is a sense of the righteous and being able to deal with the shadow when necessary, and being able to deal with power when necessary. And then when you have dragons are incredibly powerful sort of primordial beings. It is a sense of protecting what is treasure. So I feel as though there is a treasure in your ability, in your divine feminine, and you do protect it well, and you may well have a dragon energy around you to help protect that. That feels very Arthurian as well. But I feel as though you get to the internal treasure of others. And the issue for you is, as I say, the amount of power and acuity that you have, because some people will find that wonderful and some people will find that threatening. But I think that you're going to be drawn more and more to powerful people who see the value in it rather than the opposite. It's just to be aware, though, that powerful people like to be the most powerful in the room, and that's not often going to happen when you're in the room, I've got to say. So it's just something you need to be aware of. So how can you alchemize this? So I want to draw a card from an alchemy deck to just sort of see the energy that can help alchemize the power, the empowerment of your divine feminine, and where that energy is at the moment for you. Here we get the new pearl. Like, that's really interesting to come up with the dragon, because the dragon is about something that is precious, and so is this. This is a stage in the alchemy process that says that the tension and the difficulty that we deal with, and there is something about your energy where you're dealing with power, you're dealing with healing, you're dealing with powerful people, that you have to have true grit. Basically, you have to have that sense that you can really see it through, and you do have that. But it's like the maxim that the pearl is made by grit in the oyster. There is a process, and this is part of the process of alchemy, of taking that grit, taking that which needs to be healed, and then sort of gradually surrounding it with healing energy that becomes the pearl, that becomes the thing of treasure. So there's certainly a sense here that as you empower your divine feminine, not just for you, but for other people around you, you're going to bring something precious and beautiful into being in some way, whatever that is. And I'm getting for some of you, it may be connecting with your divine counterpart to bring in a child. That's just very specific, but it's coming to me that that could be part of this, and that child may have significant sort of spiritual and sort of intellectual and other powers as well, like a lineage in some way. So, but that's very specific. But more generally, this is your capacity to deal with this is what's going to create the pearl. Okay, so let's just see what kind of color energy might also be around you at the moment and your divine feminine and empowering the divine feminine. Plum. Choices, decisions, and options. Yeah, I think that there is a lot connecting you to both the heart and also to the crown chakra with the sort of combination of the plum sort of energy here. I think there is stuff about the heart and healing, but there is also the mind and the connection to sort of the spiritual realms and so forth. You're going to help people. As I say, you're going to be like an advisor to people or something. There's something like that going on. Very, very powerful energy for you around helping choices, helping to know the way forward. And wisteria, expansion, immortality, infinity. Wow, definitely very strong sort of crown chakra energy with the purples there for you. And yeah, there's something a bit mythical about it. Now, you may hide quite a lot of this, I have to say, because I think you kind of know that you have to be a bit careful. But I think most of you would know that you brought in significant sort of spiritual ability and knowledge. And there is something in this. There's something about fortune. There's something about the bigger things in life, in whatever level it is for you, that your divine feminine is developed enough to do anyway, and sort of empowering it is to understand that and work out how you negotiate that power within a world of power and competition. I think that's the key issue for you. So before we finish off with some astrology and numerology, let's just see what God might be helping. So this is a little bit around your divine masculine. It's a bit of a teaser sort of energy for going and seeing Gian's reading, but just to kind of bring a little bit of balance into the reading and to say what might be some of the energies around that for you. We've got Vulcan, inventiveness. Now this is interesting, I have to say. It may be part of the reason why you're a little bit hesitant to show things too much, because Vulcan was very powerful and very, very clever and very, very inventive, but was a little bit oppressed for that reason, and sort of ended up sort of doing a lot of the kind of, making the sort of the sword work, all those sorts of things. There is a little bit of an energy of woundedness around that. So I think you know that you're very clever and you can do new things and bring new things in, ones that help with decisions, one that kind of takes energy and treasure, definite treasure, into almost something immortal or something that sort of passes down in a lineage. But I think you're aware that you have to deal with potentials for jealousy and other things as well. So I think this is just to give you that balance, but it's very powerful. Those two energies are very much able to understand the shadow as well as what would be treasure, what would be light. Okay, so to finish off, I'm just going to draw some cards from a deck that has astrology and numerology, just to see if there's any last messages about how to empower your divine feminine. Though, as I say, your divine feminine is pretty empowered already. It's really more how you use that power to your best benefit and to the highest good of others as well. Conjunction. It could be in a significant relationship, or it could be getting these things in balance. We'll have a look at the planets around conjunction, because that suggests a partnership of energy or a partnership of people is important in some way. Cardinal. You're the initiator in connections and in using this. You will decide who you show and what you show of your power, pole 1. And new moon. There's a period of time now to go within to consider this. So there's something else coming. There's a next level coming. So it is time to sort of consider, to meditate, to go within. And whenever you're not sure, meditate and go within. You know, meditate with Vulcan, with Morgan Le Fay, with Athena, and so forth, about the best next steps. Let's just see what planets are conjunct. So I'm just going to deal out till I get planets. Saturn. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That sort of feels very Vulcan-esque, you know, this sort of sense of like being able to get into the depths, but also structure, powers of the world. There's definitely something about the powers of the world with you, in whatever level you want to do it. And in Uranus, being able to bring in the new, being able to break through, the sort of like the strike of fortune, the tower energy, all of those kind of things that sort of connect with Fortuna and Uranus together. There are breakthroughs that you can do. There is change that you can do. There is the new and the decision making, the breaking of old structures, the healing of old wounds. That's very much what your divine feminine is. And as I say, it's off the charts in terms of power. It's really how you use it. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 1. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. And please do go and see what you get for your divine masculine over with Gian, because, as I say, somebody like you, very, very interesting. And I half suspect that people even get your divine masculine and feminine confused sometimes. So I'd love to hear about that too. But for now, I will wish you well, and I will hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you have Aphrodite, you also have Ocean and the Guide. So these energies together give me a bit of a sense about the nature of your divine feminine and where the empowerment opportunities may be presenting at the moment. Ocean and Aphrodite together are very interesting. I think Ocean is about sensuality, it's about prosperity, and it's about creating your own world, you know, and an emotional creation, because she's connected with rivers and the water and the emotion and so forth. So there is a sense, I think, here of part of your divine feminine empowerment is to create who you are and what you want in your world and what you would love, and draw that to you. With Aphrodite, she is, of course, the goddess that was exceptionally beautiful and a symbol of love. In this deck, it talks a lot about self-love, and I get the sense with this, with these three together, and with the guide energy here, which is, I think, a very strong divine feminine guide around you, but also possibly that you're meant to act as a guide for others, that many of the people who come to Pile 2, you are potentially very beautiful. And it doesn't matter what gender you are, but the divine feminine in you is very beautiful. You may be culturally beautiful for your culture, and so it may be literally that, or it may be a beautiful soul, a beautiful heart. You may create beautiful things, but there's something about beauty, and I suspect in its wake comes jealousy. I just have a very strong feeling looking at this, that one of the things about empowering your divine feminine is for you to understand how much you can create your own beauty, your own self. And if you've drawn jealousy to you because of that, that you can let that go. You can almost wash it away, and you can show others how to do it. I feel like some of you have had either a quirky beauty, or you've literally had, as I say, a very culturally aligned beauty, but you've dealt with jealousy. And as a result, you may have some wounding that needs to be healed around it. Your divine feminine may need to reclaim your right to be beautiful, to not draw that jealousy, to be awe-inspiring and a guide and an icon for others in some way. You might manifest that through love and through opening your heart again to love. If you've been hurt, you could do it through guiding and helping others in some form of self-love, self-help therapies, you know, sort of helping people self-develop and all that kind of thing, self-actualize. You could do it creatively. But there's something in here about your divine feminine is a very beautiful energy. You are likely, as I say, to have beauty as one of your elements, and you are meant to show other people the way. But I think you also have a very strong divine feminine guide. It could be one of these two. It could be another guide if there's one that your culture particularly calls to. But it is a energy towards self-actualization and self-love. So to empower your divine feminine, you need to sort of fall back in love with your own beauty and your own creativity and your own power to create. And I really want to say to those who, you know, have gone through life and not been praised for beauty, sometimes that's the most beautiful people. Unfortunately, in this world, it can be that the most beautiful people are not praised because people think that it's going to go to their heads and things like that. So I get that sort of sense around this for you, that this is something about re-engaging with the beauty of your divine feminine and the beauty of your creations and the beauty of your heart, all of those things combined, because I think eventually you will be able to help others if you aren't already doing that. So let's use the tarot to get a little bit more of an idea about how this is playing out for you. So we're going to start firstly with a little bit more about your divine feminine strengths. Because you may say, well, is beauty a strength or is beauty a power? And yes, they are, but it's sort of almost may feel to you that it's a little bit almost not of your own act of creation. And yet Oshin is saying here that the beauty around you are creating. It is a power for you. But let's sort of see what else are your sort of gifts that could, give the strength to your divine feminine. Wow. Okay. If you feel the beauty of your soul, the beauty of your love, all that sort of thing is somehow something that is shallow, if anybody has tried to tell you that, there is no way. You get the magnum opus coming up. This is alchemical. This is the great work. There is something deeply spiritual. This is why you are creating this. You are manifesting this. And you can show others how to do it in some way. So it's really important to own that and to love what you're doing. There's something very beautiful, very balanced, very alchemical in what you're doing. You, at the moment, don't even realize how much you could do it. With the Queen of Talismans reversed here, that's like the Queen of Pentacles reversed, you haven't even committed to yourself to the degree that you could. But if you did, if you started to commit to your vision of what you want to create, you would be unstoppable and you would be a guide and an icon to others. You would bring true friendships, true connections to you. I just feel like many of the people who've come here, people have been jealous of you, people have tried to put you down, people have tried to make you think less of yourself, but you can turn that around. One of your powers is to turn that around. You've been very open-hearted, but be open-hearted to the right people. All it takes with the Hangman reverse is a different perspective. All it takes is owning your self-love and not feeling as though that was somehow superficial or selfish. I just feel a lot of you have been told that. Or you've been told that what the divine feminine represents is somehow frivolous or superficial or something like that. But there is great beauty in you, and beauty is a powerful thing and is one of the things that makes life worth living, to be frank. So this is about you starting to realize that how much you are your own creator, how powerful you can be, and how that can bring in the right people. But it does take you looking at things differently. So let's sort of see what you might be suppressing or unconscious of in your divine feminine, pile 2. Look, I really think many of you have had a bit of a number done on you, or you've almost done it to yourself. It looks to me as though you kind of know, whether it's physical beauty or, a beautiful gift like a singing voice or a beautiful turn of phrase or whatever it might be. It's almost as though you feel a bit guilty about it. It's almost like you think you've been given an advantage that is an unfair advantage. So you suppress your own communication. You don't allow yourself to make choices or to move forward. You feel like that's the way you bring things into balance. But this reading is about empowering your divine feminine and understanding there's nothing wrong with whatever this thing is. There's nothing wrong with loving yourself. I just think you've either been taught that to care about, how you look or how attractive you are to others or how beautiful your creations are is somehow self-indulgent. And this message is very strongly, no, your beauty, the thing that you bring in, it's going to help other people. The acceptance of that, the using of it in a lovely way, and you will use it in a lovely way. Your energy is really lovely, but you give yourself such a hard time. You may not even understand how beautiful you are, actually. So the whole thing, the kind of the choices that you could make, the sort of communication that you could do, the destiny that you could create is all being suppressed because you're trying to bring things into balance. Some of you might have been born into privilege potentially, and you feel like you've got to always answer for that. But the point is you could use some of that to help others. So there are other ways of using this without you feeling that somehow you're being self-indulgent, because you're not. Your divine feminine has a beauty that is meant to be shared and is part of a creation of your own spiritual being. Okay, so let's see how the external world is relating at the moment to your divine feminine. So there's a mixed bag. There are some that can see the value in this and they want to collaborate with you, they want to share with you, they want to give you support, they can see what you bring. There are others who are very intimidated by what you have. And I think this is the problem. I think that one of the things to empower your divine feminine is to get more with the people who are comfortable with what you have to bring. Others could potentially follow later when you show them the way, but I just feel like some of you really are suppressing some of your own beauty and some of your own creativity because people kind of like won't connect with you or feel a bit sort of intimidated by you or feel like they can't talk to you or something. It might even make you a bit lonely and you might not even know why. So I just feel like the external world where people can actually see the value and they express that, that's what to focus on to start with, because I think eventually you're going to find others will come out of this shyness almost that you evoke, because I think you do. And as I say, some of you it's going to be because you are very physically beautiful or something like that. Some of you it might be because you have an incredible gift and you're already well known or famous for it in some way. But I think you could potentially turn that around, but you have to understand it, and you have to understand it's part of who you are, and it's not something to hide away or to feel that you have to subdue in some way. So it makes me think, I've known in my life, a few very beautiful women, and quite often they have this sort of energy around them. They kind of feel like they've got to hide it away, that this sort of concept that the most beautiful women are really up themselves. From my experience, very few of them are. So it is much more this sort of energy. So I'm not saying you have to be a beautiful woman. I'm not saying this is the only way this could manifest, but it's that kind of energy. Beauty is awe-inspiring in whatever form it comes. And so I think you've almost suppressed it a bit, but there will be people who can see the value on it and who want to connect with you on it. So focus on that. So given that sometimes this sort of energy can bring out sort of stranger shadow energy, I did want to have a look as you empower your divine feminine at, kind of shadowy mythology energy. What might you need to be aware of, or what might you be able to access within your own shadow or your own self to empower your divine feminine even more? So, we've got Lemure, loneliness. That's interesting. I do think some of you might be a bit lonely. And Medusa, injustice. Wow. So this is very interesting because the Lemure are kind of like wandering ghosts who are lonely. So, and they maybe have been ostracized. They could potentially become vengeful. Because of that, people are scared of them. So if an injustice has been done to you, and it's quite possible it has, because of, as I say, people being jealous or a bit intimidated, there could be an energy that your divine feminine gives off that makes people feel intimidated, particularly when we have the Medusa as well, because she was an exceptionally beautiful creature who Athena then had some issues with, and she ended up then with the snakes on her head, and she turned people to stone when they looked at her. So there is a real intimidatory sense around some of this, and it could become on a sort of shadow level where it kind of almost creates itself, because if people are responding to you expecting you to take advantage of some advantage, that you have some beauty or some charisma or some fame or whatever it might be, that they almost project this on you. So I think it's very important for you to connect back to your power and your self-love so that you can guide people. So it's not so much that you are kind of like marginalized because of jealousy. Like there's really something like that going on. And not everybody will do it, but you need to own this so that you and Medusa could be incredibly protective as well. This is the thing. It's a protective energy when it's seen in the right way. So you could protect and help others. There's something about this for you. So let's see what you can alchemize. I think it's important when we're talking about divine masculine and divine feminine, we have the alchemical wedding and all that kind of thing. There's sort of sense that getting that balance in place is alchemical. Let's sort of see what could, and it's a healing process with alchemy. What could alchemy teach you at the moment for empowering your divine feminine? And we have wise salt. So the thing about wise salt is the concept that salt can carry wisdom. It absorbs and carries wisdom, and it can communicate that. Now remember that we had for you that one of the things that you were maybe not seeing or suppressing a bit was what you could communicate. This has the sense of the capacity to communicate, to carry with you and absorb the pains and the lessons that you've had, and then be able to communicate it to others. This is what I'm saying. You've been through something, Pole 2. Your divine feminine and your sense of beauty, self-love, all of that kind of thing has had to deal with jealousy, I would say. This is the main message that I'm getting from this. Jealousy, or a little bit of intimidation, but then that comes out as jealousy as well too. It's not something that you've created, but it's made you kind of withdraw, and it's made you feel lonely. But there is something in what you've experienced, and this is where, you know, the people who actually recognize this could potentially work with you, that you could help others. There is a wisdom that you've got out of this. And if you embrace your divine feminine and your beauty, that is an act of wisdom. And then from there, you can start to communicate that using the wisdom of wise salt. So don't, even if it has been hard, and I think it probably has been hard, and I feel for you, but even if it has been hard, don't feel as though you are defeated. You are not defeated at all. You have the magnum opus, you have ocean, you are able to create, and you will guide others. Okay, so let's see some color energy for you with your divine feminine, Pole 2. Peach, beauty, comfort, serenity. Yeah, you are beautiful in whatever form that means. I mean, I'm not saying that you have to look like a supermodel. Maybe some of you do. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a deep beauty in you, and it has intimidated others and it has drawn jealousy, but it can also be the thing that leads you out when you re-embrace that, and it will make you even more beautiful that you have been able to absorb and learn from this and help others. And white, angels, purity, radiance. Yeah. See the radiance in the center of Medusa there? There is a beauty. I just don't let anybody do your head in over this, Pole. I'm feeling a little bit irritated on your behalf, actually. I'm feeling like you've been really unfairly treated on some level. And I think once you start to realize the purity and the beauty of your beauty, and that there's nothing wrong with it, and you, again, as I say, you can help others to embrace their beauty, that's incredibly empowering for you and for others. And there is a kind of angelic thing. It could be, in fact, an angel guide that's with you. There could be sort of like, so look at archangels and things like that. There could be something like that sort of helping you as well. But you are meant to reclaim whatever is beautiful within you, whatever you would love within you. There is nothing wrong with doing it. Okay, so one of the other cards that was under the Aphrodite with the 2 cards from the Modern Goddess deck was also from the Gods and Titans. So this is a bit of a teaser for Gian's reading. So it's just to sort of see what sort of divine masculine energy might be playing out in this particular part of the reading. And then, you know, as I say, go and see Gian's reading. So it's certainly not his reading here. This is just a little bit of a teaser to say that it is important to get the balance. So let's see what God or Titan is interacting with this journey of rediscovery of self-love for you, for your divine feminine. Oh, wow, perfect. Nawada, perfection. Nawada is a god who was meant to be the leader of his tribe, his sort of land, but he had his arm chopped off in battle, and for some reason that particular community would only let somebody be a leader if they were perfect. So someone actually fashioned a sort of metallic arm for him, and then he was seen as perfect enough to move forward. So there's something here where maybe you have been asked to concentrate more on the divine masculine and be perfect and do what you need to do in the sort of career and all those sort of things, that anything else was somehow lesser, you know, and then you have a leadership role to take on or something like that. And so concentrating on self-love, beauty, the divine feminine was somehow seen as lesser. But the reality is you can work out what it is that is being required of you, don something if you need, using Nawada's sort of energy and support here, and then move forward with confidence, connecting the two, finding that you don't have to be everything to be perfect. You don't have to be everything to love. But equally, you don't have to deal with others who are fighting with you because they feel less perfect around you. So it's a beautiful balance with those two. So to finish off, we're just going to get some astrology or numerology energy around empowering your divine feminine, pile 2. Saturn return. Okay, this is about maturity, and this is about coming into your power. Saturn return happens between 28 and 30. It's the first time, and it tends to be when we really understand who we are in the world and what we're going to express in the world, what we could create in the world. It also happens between 58 and 60 when we often retire and we feel a bit free to be ourselves. And theoretically, it would happen probably between 88 and 90 as well, which is probably more spiritual. But I think even if you aren't in any of those age groups, this is about you coming into a mature understanding of yourself and your power. And we have Aquarius, yeah, being a little bit more detached. People have made this very personal, very personal. And I think for you to get to the point where you can understand your beauty and your divine feminine power, you need to almost detach a bit. It needs to be a bit detached because people have made this very personal. And waning crescent moon. So this is letting go of what the pain has been. Getting back to first principles. There has been pain. I felt it all the way through here. I just, as I say, I feel a little bit sort of righteous on your behalf because I feel like that the people who've come to this reading, if you come to the right reading, you have suffered for the internal or external or combination of both beauty that you have. And you shouldn't have, to be frank. And I think this whole message is about falling back in love with yourself on that level, you know, and understanding that there's nothing superficial or wrong about that. And it taking the pain and turning it into wise salt and helping others. There's something very beautiful and pure beyond even your own personal divine feminine beauty that is going to come from that. But unfortunately, it came via understanding that kind of shadowy side of human nature, which is both competitive with and intimidated by that which it feels is beautiful. So I'm sorry you went through that, but I do think that you're going to help others, and I do think that you now have this opportunity to really step into your divine feminine side and your beauty and a true sense of self-actualization and self-love. So I hope that that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Do go over to see Gian's readings. It would be fascinating to see what the counterpart for this is for you within your divine masculine energy as well. And, you know, it'd be very interesting to hear how they all connect. But beyond that, for now, I will wish you well and hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you came to your Maya, which is about hope, and 2 other sort of energies from the Modern Goddess Oracle to get a sense about your divine feminine are Parvati and the Witch. So it's interesting, your Maya is a goddess, was a river spirit and then became a goddess of the sea, and she is associated with things like creation, fertility, the waters of her womb, so to speak, creating the waters of the world, all of that kind of thing. So she is definitely about all things fertile, all things creative. And so there is a part of your divine feminine, the empowerment of it, that is about that. But she is also primarily known for being able to grant wishes. So she brings hope. She is someone who, or a goddess in difficult times, who sort of brings that sense that things can get better, that wishes can come true, and so forth. And it's interesting in combination with this because Parvati is an incredibly powerful goddess, and she is about the sort of manifestation of power and the living within power and so forth. And it's very interesting. She has a trident here, which connects to the sea and the waters as well. So there's a very strong, I would say, water emotional energy to your power and to your divine feminine. The emotional force, the emotional power of dreams is part of how you bring hope to yourself and to others and how you empower yourself. But you're also, with the Witch, innately powerful for creation yourself and for manifestation. I feel like it's a combination between water and earth, actually, sort of like the emotional uprising of hope and vision and so forth, using sort of very primordial power here, and then the sort of manifestation ability to bring things into being. So I feel that your divine feminine is very feminine in the sense that it's very much about all the creative energies and all the sort of nurturing energies and the giving birth to new things, new ideas, new philosophies, new spiritual paths, new children, new love, whatever it might be. But it's also about connecting it to your own internal innate power. So this is almost transpersonal, high degree spiritual power. This is the hope energy, the emotional uprising, so to speak, and then this is how you manifest it. So I feel that your divine feminine is about creating emotionally resonant wishes to come true as much as anything else. So let's have a look with tarot with a little bit more detail. Let's ask how do you manifest these gifts? What are your divine feminine strengths in more detail? Because I think you will bring hope to others. You will often be someone who is seen to be able to grant wishes or to help people make their wishes come true. Many people may literally come to you to learn about how to manifest, how to create, how to bring things into being. But you can also do it for yourself. So let's see a little bit more detail about your divine feminine strengths. Okay. So it's interesting. I almost feel like these go in pairs, and then this is a sort of like an area where you could focus to help empower your divine feminine more. But the pairs here are interesting. I feel like this with the Ace of Elixirs, the blessing of love, the blessing of hope, the blessing of emotional growth, you can bring that where somebody has felt emotionally a loss or emotionally unable to make a decision with the Two of Cups reversed. So some of this is about emotional hope. You bring hope and new ideas and new belief to people. You bring a new sense of faith to people. And where people have a creative dream but they don't know how to come out of the conflict or the competition with the Five of Wands reversed here, you show them how to negotiate that, how to bring about what they want, how to manifest a hope into reality with the Seven of Keys. So the Seven of Keys is the Seven of Swords, and that can be a bit of an ambivalent card, but I feel in this is the strength. You are bringing a strategy to them to manifest a hope and a dream and to harness power, just as you can do it for yourself. You're very clever. Here, it's just the emotional strength, the purity of what you bring to something to help people move past blocks and to make decisions. What will help you, what you are suppressing a little bit, and we're going to get a bit more into that in the next row of tarot as well, is that you could make a business out of this, anything like that. With the Queen of Talismans reversed, it's like you haven't fully committed to your own power yet, but you could. You may also be able to help others understand how to commit to their power. So, I mean, I could see you as someone who, did sort of like, magic, high magic, manifestation work or whatever, and may be able to help people understand what it actually takes to do that it's not just a matter of sitting and having a vision board or thinking you deserve it. It's actually taking the strategy to get past the competition. It's actually really making sure that your heart is pure and open so that you don't block things yourself in some way. So I think that part of this is also being able to show people what manifestation really means, and also for yourself. So let's see what you might be suppressing or unconscious of in your divine feminine, pile 3. Ace of Talismans, Five of Cups, Princess of Elixirs or Princess of Cups or Page of Cups, and Four of Pentacles reversed. So I do think that you haven't fully realized how much you can manifest for yourself yet. You may inspire others, but haven't fully done it for yourself. With the Ace of Talismans or Ace of Pentacles, and then also the Four of Pentacles reversed here, there is huge potential to do that, but it's like you haven't given yourself the foundations or almost the permission to do it. You may have actually been disappointed in trying to do it at some point with the Five of Cups here, and then with the Princess of Elixirs or effectively the Page of Cups. you haven't fully got back in touch with your own heart and your own hope. So the strange thing is that your divine feminine may inspire and teach others how to do this, but you may not fully feel you can do it for yourself. You may even have convinced yourself that you're not allowed to, that this power is for everybody else and not for yourself. But there is great potential for you to do something and manifest something for yourself. And it's not that there's a problem with doing that. It's just that you have focused it externally, I think, rather than this and helping others. But you're allowed to do it. You're not breaking the rules. It's all about balance. You know, you're allowed to ask for the universe as long as you're prepared to also provide to others. It's about balance. But you may have felt that you had to be very selfless. So let's see how the external world is relating to your divine feminine power at the moment. Actually, I'm getting like some of you, you know, if you worked in sort of like, you know, tarot, divination, that kind of thing, you might be the sort of person who everybody comes to with all their problems, and you never sort of have somebody to talk to about yours or something like that. There's just something where you haven't felt you could have the same benefit as you give to others. Okay, let's see how others are responding. King of Talismans, so King of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles, and 3 of Cups. Yeah, most people are doing really well out of you. They love you. So that's good. Your divine feminine is very, very positive, very, very, has a wonderful effect on other people, actually. And you help people sort of, you know, like, you know, feel secure, safe, manifest sort of financially. You help them find, you know, celebration, joy, and love. And you also help them sort of consolidate and become who they are. You're very, very good at that. Your divine feminine is off the charts in helping other people actualize their material and emotional dreams. Absolutely. I just think you might suppress your own a bit. So I think this might be the gentle message of spirit here to you, to use the power for yourself as well, that you are allowed, that it's okay to do that. Okay, so if you have been shying away from that, it might be that you think there's a shadow associated with that. So let's have a look at what shadow energies or sort of other mythical sort of strong energies might be around your divine feminine, and what spirit might want to say to you about that, so that you can empower this divine feminine for yourself as well as for other people, which you're already doing by the looks of things in spades. Puk, fear, okay. And the Banshee, grief. All right, so it's interesting. This is both about noise. I think this is kind of saying you need to make a bit of a noise. You need to make a bit of a racket for yourself as well. Something's a bit out of balance. And that is the way that you deal with any grief or any feelings where things didn't work out yourself or where you've suppressed it. And also any fears you have of your own power and what it might mean to manifest it. Because Apuk is the Mexican god of the dead, and you know, the Mexican culture was sort of scared if Apuk was hanging around. So what they would basically do is they would make a lot of noise, and that would make the god move on to somewhere else. So there's something about making a noise, making a point in some way that is important for your divine feminine, to not keep your own needs silent and your own hopes silent. With grief, maybe one of the reasons we have your Maya here is that you have suffered some great loss. Some of you may have. And that might be why you don't have hope for yourself, but you have hope for others. You almost feel like you're destined to suffer, but you can help others, you know, and maybe it'll get you some good karma for your next life. And it probably will, but I think this is sort of saying, again, you need to, like the whole thing about the Banshee is it makes a lot of noise. I just feel as though it's kind of like you need to make a bit more noise, and you need to shut out the noise from everyone else, just like the person there is shutting their ears. Or you need to make as much noise as a Banshee sometimes. It needs to... just needs to be brought into balance. But ultimately it feels like you need to sort of up the volume a bit on what you need in the world and your hope and your dreams and your power, and turn down the volume a bit, just a bit, on what you do for others, you know, to get it more into balance. Okay, so given that, let's have a look what alchemy can give you to sort of heal and bring things into balance. And I wanted to use the alchemy deck because we're looking at divine feminine here and divine masculine over on Gian's channel. I feel like there's the alchemical marriage, the sense of one of the beauties about understanding and empowering both these sides is it's part of the alchemical process and part of the healing associated with that. So let's just see what alchemical energy is around empowering your divine feminine at the moment. Pile 3. sugar. So this is very interesting, particularly if you are dealing with grief or with loss of hope or feeling that the good things are for others and not for you, because sugar is essentially that concept of the sweetness of life. And so the alchemical process with sugar is saying that we draw, like attracts like. We can draw sweetness into life. Are we being too focused on sort of the darker energy, or are we putting too much of a strict regulation on ourselves that we don't have simple pleasures? This is saying alchemically, if you start to enjoy life, if you start to give yourself little pleasures, little hopes, you start to really realize how out of balance it is, how you've been so focused on other people, and you can bring sweetness back into life. But you do need to accept that that is as valid and that you should be able to have it as much as anybody else. I mean, I'm literally getting, if you've been on a strict diet or something, I'm not telling you to blow your diet completely, but, maybe some ice cream or a bit of chocolate occasionally wouldn't hurt. Like, allow yourself some joy, allow yourself some hope. You definitely have the power to be able to manifest the right outcomes of that. So, as I say, I'm not a doctor, and if that's a problem for you medically, don't do it. But if it's not that, then it might be sweetness in a different way. Being with people who are sweet to you, listening to sweet music, whatever it might be. But there is something about bringing a bit more joy back into your life. That's what's necessary at this point to empower your divine feminine. Okay, so let's have a look at colour energy around your divine feminine, pile 3. Forest, elementals, fairies, magic. Okay, so getting out into nature, getting out into a forest. Green is also the heart chakra. There's a lot of healing in the heart here, I think, that could be done. A bit of sweetness to your heart, a little bit more hope to your heart, particularly if grief is involved in any way. But it's also, connecting in with the fae. You may have a particular connection to those sorts of energies, particularly as you've got the sort of witchcraft sort of energy around you as well. And crimson, atonement, karma, penitence. So you may have felt that you had done something wrong. You might have felt that you were dealing with difficult things because of karma and so forth. Maybe there is something that you felt bad about and you've been atoning. But I think this is showing you've got there. You've done it. Let that go. It's time now for sweetness back into your life. You might have even felt you misused your power at some point, and so you feel like you have to atone by helping others. You've been doing a bucket load of that. This is time for you to understand that is done. Let that energy go. Okay, so what was also under the 3 cards that we started the reading with was a card from the Gods and Titans deck. So this is a bit of a teaser for Gian's Divine Masculine reading. So it's not meant to replace it. It's only kind of a little bit of an idea about the Divine Masculine energy, in particular about this reading. I would highly, 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 highly recommend that you go and watch Gian's video and see the Divine Masculine reading there and how that connects with this more generally. But I did want to ask what divine masculine energy might be around with this particular aspect of empowering your divine feminine. And we have Poseidon, the flow. See, it's all about water. She is a goddess of the sea. Poseidon was a goddess of the sea. Parvati with the Neptunian energy, had the sort of water energy as well. There's a lot about getting back to the heart for you. But Poseidon is all about the flow and when power is used and how power is used, and sort of course Poseidon could, cause, tsunamis or storms or whatever, but could also be the gentle flow of water, in a riverbed or in the sea with just the gentle tides at night under the moon, all that kind of thing. So this is about getting back into touch and in both your divine masculine and your divine feminine, this sort of sense of getting back into the heart and into the flow and into hope. That's what is meant to happen. You've given yourself too much of a hard time. It's time for you to actually give back joy to yourself and hope to yourself in the way that you do for other people. Okay, so to finish off, I just want to get some astrology or numerology energy for you around empowering your divine feminine, pile 3. Waning crescent moon. So this is, again, you've had some loss, you've had some sacrifice coming up over and over. It's time to let that go. Go back to first principles. You've done your time in whatever this is. and you may not even have done anything at all. In fact, you just might be being too hard on yourself or being too strict. But it's time to get back into the flow. The time of the loss and the sacrifice, it's time to let that go, pile 3. To let your sort of like true manifestation ability and your true sort of emotional hope and power that you give to others, you give it to yourself as well. Trine, yeah, things are meant to be in ease. Things are meant to be in flow. We'll have a look at what the planets are, but it's not meant to be so hard. You have all these abilities. Your divine feminine is very powerful. It doesn't have to be so hard, pile 3. And cardinal, yeah, and you can act. You're the one who can change this just by shifting where you put your energies and how you view it yourself. It's all within your power. Because other people are doing really well with what you're doing. There's no problem from their perspective, but you need to initiate something for yourself. So we're just going to look at what the planets are to see what easeful energy might help you with empowering your divine feminine. So I'm just going to deal out till I get cards. So firstly, I've got Jupiter. So yeah, expansion, kindness. You're a very, very kind person. So get off your own back, please. You really are, and that's part of what will bring the ease. Jupiter and the moon. So yeah, your emotion, expanding your spiritual knowledge, expanding your emotional energy, all of that stuff. That's what's meant to come into trine. Your emotional heart brings in your manifestation, and you've done it for others. You need to do it for yourself. It's time to let hope back into your heart because you deserve it. You're actually a really, really lovely person. So I hope that resonates for you, pile 3. I hope it was helpful and you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Please do go over to Gian's reading. As I said, the link is in the description box below. See what divine masculine empowerment can also balance out this for you as well. And beyond that, I wish you well and I hope to see you in future readings.